you will spend $9,000 to say goodbye. That is the average American funeral, and most of that number is markup you never agreed to. Quick answer. The casket that costs them $300 gets sold to you for $3,000. But what happened next is where it gets interesting. Nobody sends you this in writing. When someone dies, you have maybe 48 hours to make a dozen expensive decisions while your hands are still shaking. The funeral industry knows this. Grief is the one moment you will not haggle, will not shop around, will not ask the price. Open the file. Here's the thing about funeral homes. They are not selling you a service. They are selling you a deadline. The clock starts the second you walk in, and every option on the menu is built around one fact. You cannot say no to burying someone you love. That changes everything about the price. So here's where it begins. The general price list. Federal law says the home must hand you one, itemized, before you buy anything. Almost nobody asks. So the list stays in a drawer, and the salesman walks you straight to the $7,000 package instead. That drawer is worth a fortune. Here's the number they bury, the cash advance markup. The home pays the florist, the obituary, the death certificates, then quietly adds a fee on top for handling the money. On a $400 flower order, you might pay $60 extra just so they touch the invoice. Watch what comes next. Here's the thing about the casket. It is the single biggest markup in the building. A casket that costs the funeral home $400 is sold to you for $2,400. That is a 600% climb on a box that goes in the ground, and it gets worse. So here's where the trick lands. Federal law says you can buy a casket anywhere, online, for a fraction of the price, and the home must accept it. They cannot charge you a handling fee for bringing your own, but they will never tell you that out loud. Silence is the whole business model. Follow the money for a second. The protective sealed casket, the one promised to keep water and air out forever, the upsell costs you $800 extra. Funeral directors know sealing a casket can actually trap moisture and speed decay. They sell it anyway. That's not a mistake, that's the design. Here's the thing about embalming. They will tell you it is required, it is not. No state law requires routine embalming for a normal burial or cremation. It is a $400 add-on sold as a rule. The word required is doing a lot of quiet work there. Keep watching. So here's where they stack it. If you want a public viewing, then the home requires embalming. Then it requires their casket for viewing. Then a facility fee for the room. One yes becomes 4 charges. The viewing you wanted for closure quietly becomes a $2,000 chain. Each link profits someone. Here's the number they bury. Cremation. The direct cremation costs the provider around $300. The same cremation sold through a traditional funeral home can run you $3,000. Identical ashes. The only difference is the logo on the invoice and how scared you were to ask. But there's a deeper trick. So here's where it gets darker. Pre-need insurance. They sell you a funeral today for the price of tomorrow. Locked in, paid in advance. Sounds smart. But if you move, or the home closes, or you miss a payment, much of that money can simply vanish. You insured a funeral and bought a trap. Here's the number they bury. Americans hold over $140 billion in these pre-need funeral funds. That money sits for years, sometimes decades, earning interest. You will never see that interest. The home does. You prepaid your own death, and someone else collected the yield. Now, here's what nobody admits. Here's the thing I cannot tell you. Not every funeral home does this. Many are family-run, honest, and grieving alongside you. The problem is, you have no way to know which is which in the 48 hours you are given. The system hides the good ones behind the same fog as the bad. And that is the cruel part. Remember that $9,000 from the start. You did not overpay because you were foolish. You overpaid because you loved someone and ran out of time to question the price. Grief is not a weakness. Here, they turned it into a price list. Open the file early. 3 things nobody sends you in writing. 1. You can legally have a home funeral and bury a loved one on private land in most states. No funeral home required at all. 2. That gold trim casket and the plain one are often built in the very same factory on the same line. 3. The flowers at the front of the room are often rented, sold back to the next family by the same florist that afternoon. 4. The grave liner the cemetery requires, the concrete vault around the casket, exists mostly, so the lawnmower has flat ground to roll over. It protects the grass, not your loved one. And the strangest one, the casket and the headstone are frequently sold by companies the funeral home secretly owns under a different name, so the prices look independent when you compare them. They are not. You shopped around inside one company wearing 3 masks. That is the whole game in a single sentence. Open the file before you ever need it. Subscribe, and you will never walk in unarmed.